Good afternoon and welcome to the first episode of the Southwest Entrepreneurs Podcast, the expanded version of the Nevada Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm here with my first guest and event sponsor, Josh Norris of Arrive Financial Services in this nice building here. First of all, what got you into Arrive?
It's a long story. So I'll just give you kind of the clip notes of it, and we can dive into whatever you want. But so I had owned a business for 15 years and sold it in like 2022. And at the time, I was made the COO of a much bigger company that bought mine. But I had some pretty serious health issues, which we can get into. And after going through that, I was tired of the other industry. My friends owned Arrive; they're already a thriving company. And I love what they did to help people. I mean, they came to my hospital and they did an estate plan while I was in the hospital, make sure I had all that stuff in place. And I already had a lot of the other products. And, they had offered me to come in as a partner to help with some business goals that they had and based on my background. And that's how I became a part of Arrive.
Oh, that's amazing, man. And you said that you had died in the hospital twice?
Yeah, so I had some heart problems. I had congestive heart failure, and I had been in the hospital for 2 weeks. I thought I had made a full recovery after about 4 months. This was like March of 2022 or 2021, and I thought I had made a full recovery. And by the next year, I was setting personal records in the gym. It was all good. Took a road trip across the country with my family. And then in July of 2023, everything came back with a vengeance. So I ended up with congestive heart failure again, which was part of a virus. And this time I thought it was going to be the same thing, go to the hospital, get on some medications. And unfortunately, that was not the case. They thought that they could help me, and it didn't work. I got transferred from one hospital to another, finally to the advanced heart failure team over at St. Joe's. And their team was amazing. All they do is work on heart failure patients. And they too thought, hey, you know what? We're going to get you right on medications. And Dr. Brady, who oversaw everything, after a week of them trying to manipulate my medications, he said, listen, if they can't get you right, soon, I got to pull the plug on this. Ooh. And we got to, go a different direction. And that direction was basically three things. We can send you home, and we can just treat symptoms for 90 days, and that's about all you got.
Wow.
Or we can send you home and put you on an inotrope, which is like an adrenaline, treat symptoms, and you got about maybe 6 months to live.
Wow.
Or we can put an LVAD in you, which is a machine that pumps the left side of your heart, which is what the heart failure was doing to me. And that can potentially get you on a donor's list and get a transplant at some point. Right now, you won't qualify, is what I was told. And I'm like, well, how long can that sustain me? He says up to like 7 years to be able to get on that transplant list. So that was the direction we were going to go. And through a series of miracles, Dr. Brady said the day before they were going to present me, because how it works is they have to present you to 50 people that you're going to get a transplant. And then they say no, and then they give you the LVAD, right? Well, this was the Thursday prior to me being presented on a Friday. The next Wednesday, I'm already scheduled for the LVAD. They already threw the transplant out the window. They just had to go through this process. Comes in my room the day before, and he says, hey, just so you know, I'm going to go to bat very hard for you tomorrow to get a transplant. Now, mind you, that morning, his own doctor said, transplant's out the window, you're getting the LVAD next Wednesday. And I'm like, what? So I was a little confused, and then, got kind of emotional about it because it's like, really? I can't believe you would do that for me. And he said, no, just so you know what I mean, I've already made calls to people I've been doing business with for 20 years, and I think you'd be a great candidate. So he went over, the next day presented me, comes back the next day with great news that, we're going to get you on the transplant list. So then I get transferred over to Banner University where they actually do the transplants. So this was on, and in the hospital, nothing ever over the weekend. It's like time stops, right? So this is on a Friday, I get this news, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll get transferred Monday. Oh no, I get helicoptered over, by the way, 2.5 miles from St. Joe's to Banner University because nobody knew how to work the machine that was in me, which was called an Impella. And they had to helicopter me over to Banner University. So this is on Saturday. Shot my heart rate up to around 260. and then it stopped. And all I remember, my wife was sitting over there on a bench, and the nurse that was in the room, like, "Are you okay?" Because all of the machines behind me are just going off, beeping like crazy. I'm like, "Yeah, I feel okay," because I had this device in me that was pumping my blood.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I start to fade. It's like, "You need to lay down," and I just kind of see this wave of people start to rush in the room. And my wife sat there and watched the whole thing, and for 15 minutes, my heart was stopped, and they were basically reviving me back to life.
Wow.
During that point. And they did get me back, and then 3 days later, on September 14th, that happened again. And it was quite the process. I'd already been approved for the transplant. This moved me now up further on the list, which was fortunate for me. Not the dying part, but if you're going to die in a hospital, because you at least have a fighting chance, right? But this moved me up on the list so that I was able to have a higher chance of getting one faster. And then October 4th is when I got it that year.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty serious story, man. So how do you approach death now that you've gone through that kind of thing twice? Like, what do you think? Are you like less fearful of it? Is it like, just what's your attitude towards that, and how did it change your perspective on the world and everything?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at this point, I'd already been in the hospital for 30 days. And again, it was the second stint. The year prior, I had been in for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I have a very strong Christian faith, and I have for a long time. So that was helpful. However, I got 3 kids at the time. They were 12, 10, and 5. And I was like, I want to see my daughter, who's the youngest. I want to see her walk down the aisle someday. I want to be there for all the firsts. I have a wife, beautiful wife. We just celebrated 19 years together. So at that time,
Congratulations.
16. Thank you. And it wasn't that I was afraid of death. It was not. I was afraid of what I was going to not be there for my family.
Behind.
And that's what sat there for the first 30 days while I'm in the hospital, praying to God. There were a couple times I was in such bad shape. I was just like, "Lord, take me. This is absolutely miserable." Because with heart failure, certainly they have what's called ejection fraction, which is a measurement of your heart pumping. And a normal person is generally at the lowest 40, but usually in the mid 50s and 60s, and that's like how your blood's pumping. When I came into the hospital the second time, I was at a 12. Most people were dead by 20.
Oh my.
So that was just how I was during that time. So all these machines, not feeling good, all the medications just making me feel like dog dirt. I mean, I had those conversations with the good Lord many times, and so I wasn't afraid of death, but I was afraid of what I would be missing out on, and really them having to live without their father and husband in this case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did make some changes. I had left an industry I had been in for 17 years, owned a company in it for 15 and sold that, and I had some partnerships. I was just tired of the industry, certainly tired of those people, and I thought, I'm going to do something different that helps people. And while I was in the hospital, I had life insurance, we had retirement accounts, we had a lot of good things in place. We did not have our estate plan, meaning I didn't have my power of attorney for my health and my financial. We didn't have a trust with our assets in there. And at this time, I had no idea how much this was going to cost. I didn't know if insurance was going to cover it. And all in all, after my whole stint and everything, it was estimated anywhere between $2.3 and $2.6 million, depending on the hospital cost portion of it, of this transplant. So I was very afraid of that. And Adela, who's in our office now, she's the CEO of Arrive, she did all of that paperwork. She helped us move our assets into the trust, got our power of attorney in place, and a lot of people don't know this, but even though I have a wife and a spouse, she doesn't automatically get to make decisions on my behalf when it comes to my health. So if she doesn't, we don't have that written piece of paper, they have to go to the courts, and the court has to sign off on that. Yeah. And I didn't know this. So we got all that put in place, and that's why that was so near and dear to me. And then the life insurance portion of it was huge too, because we have what's called living benefits, which allows you to take part of your policy when you go through something terminal, critical, and chronic, which mine was definitely on the critical side.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got in the industry. That's how that time, and it just shaped me. And okay, I get another chance. I'm going to run as hard as I can. be a great dad, never take any day for granted, and I'm going to help people in this
Love it, man.
vein.
Doing your insurance stuff with purpose. I see you got estate planning, like you said, life insurance, estate plans, retirement planning, health insurance, and 401k rollovers.
Yeah.
So you've got a pretty well-rounded service. At the last event that we just did, you met Eduardo. What have you developed with him now with your insurance? Like, what are you guys going to do in collaboration now?
Yeah, so we have a couple things that we're
From the BBB, by the way.
Yeah, from the Better Business Bureau, and it was great meeting him, and you put together a great event.
Thank
and
you.
That venue was fantastic as well.
He has a solid spot.
And so, when we had met, as we started talking, getting to know each other, there were some instant things that we had, connections on. And the first thing actually was not even on the estate planning side. So I'm on the board of the National Hispanic Construction Alliance, and that is an organization that helps Hispanics in the construction world. It gives free training to help them make sure they're registered with the ROC, make sure that they have training on contracting, and all kinds of free training in that organization. And I thought he could be a huge value, and we could bring value to the BBB and all the people that are there.
Yeah.
And then when he found out that I was doing the estate planning, he's like, "Oh, this is great. So I'd like to put together a series." So we're going to work together. We're having lunch next week, and we're going to work together on a series that we can present to small business owners why estate planning is important, how to get things in place, what each aspect of it means. So we're hoping, I'm hoping that number one, he sees the vision, and obviously he brought it up, so he probably does, and that we can get something on the books to be able to help people through that series towards the end of the year.
They connected before the event even started. I mean, you guys were there before I even showed up. And then I see you guys talking, and now you've got what you said you've got going on with that collaboration. So that's great. And actually, I had met both him and Eduardo from the BBB through our friend Dave Waltzer, who started Wicked Awesome Happy Hour, which is based out of here in Arizona, East Valley, third Wednesday of every month. And we're about to go there tonight. And that one guy got us all these connections together.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what networking can really do for all of you who are listening to this. So if you're hesitant, just put yourself out there, because you never know what comes of it. It all comes full circle if you guys are not afraid to put yourself out there. So definitely get in touch with people and go to all the networking events. Like, go to, not just mine, but go to Wicked Awesome Happy Hour. There's Arizona Entrepreneurs. We know Devin very well. Solid group. So just, if you're out as a new entrepreneur or an established entrepreneur, but your network's not very big, it's time to get over to some rooms and get to meet some people, because this is what comes of it.
That's what it's all about. I mean, you show up with no expectation. You know what you do and the value you can bring. But I always go into those meetings trying to find out what people are looking for, who they are, because you never know when you can give them a connection.
Yes.
You might not be able to do anything with your particular business, whatever you're in, but so many times something can spark and be like, "Oh, I know someone that I could introduce you to." And anytime you introduce two people, you're always part of that conversation for the duration of their relationship. And if you go in with that motive, business generally just comes from it.
Yeah, and what he's saying is really just come with a serving mindset, adding value, not being transactional. That's one of the core values we have at Impact Social Nights and Nevada Entrepreneurs. So, just when you come from a place of service and a heartfelt mindset, and you're not rushing your business card at every event, you're not in a hurry to try to get numbers and all that sort of stuff, people will see, like, they can see through you. They can see whether you're fake or you're real. So just be yourself, be genuine, and just have a serving mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's well said.
So what is your favorite part about doing your insurance business? What do you enjoy the most about it?
So like we're a full retirement planning company. So what I love to do, and I've been like this since I was a kid, I like to solve problems, and I like to do puzzles. And that was in my last business. That was certainly the case, because we did digital marketing, and I started back in 2008, which isn't what it is today. Yeah. But it was great, because you meet with someone, you do a needs analysis, you find out what they're trying to accomplish, and then you start to put together a plan that takes them from where they're at to where they want to go. And retirement planning is the same thing. You find out where somebody is, and then you say, okay, well, here's where we want to go, and you start looking at the gaps that they have in place. And nothing happens overnight. Sometimes it's like, okay, we need to get some basic. We need a safety net. We need that life insurance in place. If they're brand new, great, awesome. And then sometimes it's somebody, I have some 8-figure clients that have all that stuff. Believe it or not, though, they didn't have an estate plan. And it's like, okay, well, let's sit down, let's get that in place to make sure you have a trust in your assets. And sometimes I'll find people that will have like a 401k from a job that's like 7 years ago, and it's just still sitting there, still collecting fees. They're like, well, what are you doing with that? Well, nothing, it's just there. Well, we can roll that over into an IRA for you. And these companies will give you different bonuses and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you're always putting together a puzzle, and you give them the blueprint to start, and then you work on piece by piece, and then each year executing on those. And then they can say, oh, I'm doing great, not so good here, didn't get this done. Awesome. Here's what we're going to do for 2026. And then usually we'll meet with clients, twice a year.
Estate planning is not something that's talked about very much. People talk about, life insurance, health insurance, but even I don't hear about estate planning that much. And if you have a family and you don't have an estate plan, you could be setting yourself up for some real failure, no?
Yeah, no, it's that's actually a great point. It's very interesting because a lot of people, when they hear estate planning, number one, they think, oh, I got to be wealthy to have one. Or two, I got to be, it's going to cost a lot of money to get in place. Neither are true. Number one, if you have any assets whatsoever, if you own a home, you need a trust. But even if you don't own a home, you certainly need your power of attorney. And if you got children, you need to make sure that you sign over to where you would want them to go if something happened to you. And how are they going to be taken care of? And how are those funds going to be delivered to them? And you have to have those things in writing. So that's very important. But to your point, like it's not a fun thing to talk about. Estate planning and life insurance, you're basically talking about death and your demise, right? Yeah. It's not a great dinner conversation, but it's something that you have to discuss and go over to make sure that, one of my mentors, longtime mentor, he always said, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and don't get your feelings hurt. That's his philosophy on business. And he's like, if you do that, it'll take care of a lot of things. Well, I kind of take that in my life. Yeah. Prepare for the worst, right? Something happens, your health, something happens to you, make sure you have those safety nets in place. Hope for the best. Put together a plan of where you want to go. And then, if things don't work out the right way, don't get your feelings hurt, and you just reevaluate. Like the first 5 years of my company I had for 15, man, it was a grind. The first 3 years, I probably didn't make anything, worked my butt off. But there was a time where I was down to my last $20. Yeah. And that was a story in and of itself. I had a brand new, a 3-year-old at the time, I had a 1-year-old at the time, my wife, and, it's like I had a whole bunch of invoices out, but I hadn't collected on any of them. And, I literally lost my last $20, and I'm scrambling around the house. This is like 2011. And fortunately, I ended up going to the car and digging around frantically, and I found it. But that was literally what I was planning on eating on, because we didn't have any credit cards left or anything at this point in time.
They were all maxed out or something?
It was all maxed out. Wow. But it was shortly after that, it was 12 months after that, we were in a completely different situation. Money came in, I started hiring people that did a lot of the stuff for me. But like to your point, you got to be patient. But I always, the way I kind of look at it, and I've done it with my life, is I'm aggressively patient. I'm patient on waiting for the results. I'm aggressive on making sure there's enough in the pipeline to have results down the line. I'll never, ever not be sowing seed, but I will be patient on the harvest.
Well, see, that sounds a lot like what Andy Frisella said about urgent patience, is like, that's exactly how he said it too. Something we do at these Impact Social Nights events is, I'm not just going to put somebody's banner on there. I want to make sure that if somebody's sponsoring, that they're able to speak and meet the people. Because it's better for yourself where you get to meet the people in person, and it's also better for the audience, because then they remember a face to a name and not just a logo. It's a cool logo, but people they're talking to each other, and there's a lot of times I've noticed where, we've got these sponsors, but then those sponsors aren't there anymore, because it's like, you didn't have them meet anybody. Right. You just had their logo. I don't even want somebody to come sponsor an event of mine unless they actually can be there in person, because I don't want to have some kind of rift with them later where they're like, hey, I didn't get any clients from your event. And I'm thinking, yeah, you should have been there.
Yeah.
No, it's like they're always there. It's just, plus you get to present, you get to have a QR code people scan at the end, and then, people see your slides, but they also get to know you. That's what's really important. They get to know you.
Your format is excellent. I really like the format. And it'll grow through word of mouth, but the format itself is awesome. And I love the point you just made, how it's not just throwing a logo up on something and then, what's behind the logo. No, I am part of the logo.
You are the logo. It's your brand.
Right. I am, like at those events, I am the logo.
Yeah.
And I represent and I carry a flag for what Ariel and Adela put together
to
arrive and what I'm a part of.
Yeah.
But like, that's what I want. I want to carry that flag. If I'm not in the room, I can't do that. Nobody cares. They see some, fancy letters on there, and that's about it. But like, that's what people, a lot of events, quote unquote, like yours, they don't have. You allow people to speak and to be able to give information. And I don't pitch anything. Like at the end, I had a call to action.
We don't do pitch fests here.
But I try to give value.
You do.
Why? Who needs an estate plan? Why do you need a estate? What does it do? And that's like the other thing that I love about how you formatted it. And I also like the what do you call them? The spotlights?
Oh, the stage fright challenge.
Stage fright challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Those are fun. So for those of you that don't know that, what we do is in the middle of each event for about 15 minutes, we will have random audience members that are clearly either terrified or not ready to speak. And I'm just like, nope, that's why you should do it. And then they answer 5 questions about who are you, what do you do, why are you here, what is your purpose, and what value can you add to the group, and even the bonus question, which is what are your goals before the end of 2025? And we get a lot of interesting answers out of a lot of people, and it helps them get exposure as well. And then I will airdrop, text, or email the video to them for content they can put on their social media. So if you're coming to an event and you're worried about getting on stage, well, that's why you should do it. Just come do the Stage Fright Challenge, and then you get some free content. I just try to do things other event hosts don't do, man.
Yeah.
Because what it's about at the end of the day is making real impact, and I feel like I'm doing what God put me on this earth to do, man. Like, the events are the roadmap.
Yeah.
They're not the destination. The destination for me is the connection I've made where I either buy a portion of a business with somebody, I invest in a real estate deal with somebody, or some other kind of collaboration that makes us money, but not at the event, after the event, because we met at the event. That's the destination. There's a lot of people I've known where they are like, oh, we're doing this event, we're going to make all this money. And it's like, that's your biggest focus, is how much money you make? I don't even think about how much. I'm just thinking about not losing.
Right.
What I'm thinking about is how many people can I get around yourself, Dave. I want to make sure that these events, that when people are coming over, that they have long-term connections they will remember, and that they will want to stay connected with. Like, Amber really wants to use the BBB office. Yeah, she was talking to me about that, and she wants to do an episode of this with me too. Sure. Jeremy and Devin want to use the BBB office. So, and that was the biggest shocker for me, man. I was like, holy crap, because I hosted this event here and brought those guys here, now we're looking at a potential Arizona entrepreneurs event there. I'm just like, I mean, I can't take all the credit. It's Eduardo that offered, because he's like, yeah, my space for free for one event. I'm like, okay, that's very generous of him, and that's a solid space, man.
No, it's a beautiful space, and the cool thing is there's multiple spaces for different settings and different amounts of people. Like, really, that was a huge offer. Yeah,
no, it was amazing, a huge offering, and I'm gonna request him to do an episode of this show with me too, because
he'd be great.
Yeah, he'd be great.
Very smart guy.
Yeah, very smart guy. Eduardo Borquez of the Better Business Bureau Pacific Southwest chain. If any of you have events you want to do, definitely reach out to him over there at the Phoenix location off Missouri Avenue, because it's great, and he's always willing to cut a deal if you've got good intentions with your network and your businesses.
Yep.
So, are you originally from Arizona or somewhere else, or what's your story?
I'm a native of Arizona. I grew up in the small town Safford, Arizona. You either know of Safford because you have lived there, you worked at the mine. You know who Justin Gaethje is?
I was about to mention
the
him,
UFC
dude. I know.
superstar, which is
dude,
like
he's
our
one of my favorite
claim
fighters,
to fame. Or Zaylee Windsor, who was just on American Idol and made the top. I think she made the top 10 this year, which is amazing. But yeah, no, my whole family was a mining family. My dad, he had me at 19. He worked at the mine. He did an apprenticeship, became an electrical engineer, and then moved our family up here. So I went to Chandler High School and been up here ever since. But yeah, I'm one of the few. You know, natives are not big around here.
Yeah, it's a big transplant area. Yeah, but our buddy Dave is from Boston, and his accent is still very intense. You can really hear the dialect. You don't even have to ask him where he's from. Yep. You'll just find out when he opens his mouth.
Right.
So that's any Wicked Awesome Happy Hour. That's just such a solid name for his events every month.
Very fitting.
Yeah, very fitting for his culture and everything like that. So, how's everything going with your family? You got kids?
Yeah, 3 kids. So my two sons are 15 and 13.
Okay.
So one, we're going to start teaching him to drive, the 15-year-old. He's pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Our 13-year-old, he's into flag football, so we got him, we're getting him into a couple of camps. And my daughter's 7, and she's just, ball of energy. Right now it's summertime, so we're swimming. We're going to Nashville for a week, trying to take them on different trips and having some good time. But yeah, they're just awesome. I love this age and time because it's just different.
Yeah.
Every year's different.
Yeah.
And I just had a guy on my podcast, and we were talking about being dads. You get 18 summers, with your kids, and it's the time where it's the most concentrated, where you get to be around them, influence them. Allow them to kind of see, because more is caught than taught, kind of see how you interact with people and how you do, and your principles and your morals and all that kind of stuff. So we're in the middle of those 18 summers, and only got a few more with my oldest. And not that you don't continue with relationships and all that stuff with your kids. Of course it goes on for a lifetime. But that's the crux of it.
It's different when they're not living with you.
Yeah.
And how'd you meet Jessica?
Met her on MySpace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I originally...
Any of you remember that, by the way? MySpace? Been gone for a while.
That's right. Everybody had their friend Tom.
That's right.
So it was crazy. So I was on MySpace at the time. I was 20. I was 20, I believe. 21. I was 21. Single. I had, I'd been dating like, you do in your 20s and stuff. But I was like, I'd found her, and I sent her a message, and she's like, hey, how about a cup of coffee? And I'm like, great.
Awesome.
And then she ghosted me for 2 weeks. Apparently she was seeing somebody up in like New York. But she came back. She broke up with him. Yeah. And she was like, hey, how about that cup of coffee? I'm like, awesome. And then she says, I don't drink coffee. I'm like, oh, okay. So we went out to Applebee's the first night. And at this time she was going to ASU. She was in college. So I go to pick her up at her dorms. And she was living with 3 other girls at the time. And this is, 2005, I guess it was.
Yeah.
So this is when they had flip phones and stuff, and everyone...
Oh, remember those?
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. I remember 2 distinct things about, meeting her the first time. Number 1, her handshake. She shook hands like a man. Like, she was like handshake. Firm grip.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. And then, I go in, and she introduced me to her 3 roommates, and like...
I think she shook my hand like that, too.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah, and the roommates all took a picture on their flip phone of me. She's like, yeah, make sure this guy isn't like a psycho killer. Because you meet someone online, it was a new thing at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went to Applebee's, and we hit it off. We met and married in 7 months.
Nice.
So I got her young and naive, and before she knew any better. Then I just kind of became the man eventually that I told her I'd be.
Well, that's a great thing, man. You got a family, you got kids that are on their way to driving, and some of them are almost out of high school.
Yeah.
And man, 54 months of summers, because you said 18 summers, multiply that by
that's
3 a year, 54 months. I mean, that's not as much as it sounds like. So, got to take advantage of those. And what were your favorite things to do in the summer with them? You ever go like to Flagstaff or like Tahoe or?
Yeah, so with our kids, we kind of have a couple of traditions. Number 1, we always spend at least about 10 days of 2 different times, like 5 and 5 up in Flagstaff. Because in-laws have a place up there, and we have a golf tournament every year, so we always do that. and then we do some sort of big trip. So last year we did a road trip up to Montana, and then down to Jackson Hole, and then Utah, and then we ended up in Flag, but that was about a 15-day trip in and of itself. We took a trip across the country to Myrtle Beach. That was a 22-day trip. But that was like all the way across, stayed at different places, Myrtle Beach, then went to Nashville, spent like a week there, made our way back, and then this year we're going to Nashville. We're flying out there for a week. So we love to travel and be together and just hang out and have fun. And we just got our pool resurfaced and all that stuff, so we're trying to get our investment out of that. So we're in the pool every day right now.
That's great. And what are your favorite types of businesses to work with?
So because of my digital background, towards the last 5 years of the 15, I worked with a lot of attorneys, a lot of law firms that started up, and that was fun because I knew a lot of attorneys that were just getting out of school or had been in another law firm, hanging their own shingle now, and I loved helping them just blueprint their marketing because I'd already done it so many times. And I helped some of them become multimillionaires just in a 4-year period of time, and it was fun because I handled the marketing side of it. So as much as some people don't like attorneys, I love attorneys. I have a lot of great relationships with them.
Good.
And then I just love small business owners in general. People that have an idea, have a thought, and they have enough gumption, and enough to say, I'm going to go out and do this. And I love being the one that kind of can help guide them in different ways. Yes, on the financial side, of course, right? Because but a lot of times that's a little further into their journey. Not everybody's setting up everything perfectly in their family when they're just getting started because they're putting their biggest resources into their business. And I've been there. So I find myself, it's funny because I used to, towards the end of my other company, I used to charge $400 an hour for my consulting services, and I'd sell it, 10 hours a piece. And usually it'd be like 1 or 2, sets of 10 hours and stuff I would do. And I helped a lot of companies. Well, today I just do it for free. Number one, I don't want to get roped back into that business, but I help a lot of people. Like one of the doctors that I just helped, he needed an LLC set up. He's like, I don't know how to do that. Do you have an attorney? I'm like, bro, I've set up 100 of these. Let me take care of that for you. I didn't charge him anything. I set it up for him. Here's how it's done. Got his EIN number for him, just as a freebie. And it did turn in a huge client for me, but that wasn't the purpose of it.
It's not the purpose of it, but hopefully the point he's making is when you're willing to do that kind of thing for free, it returns good karma to you. Like you just said, you got a big client out of that. Yeah, you got a big client out of that. And that's the moral of the story for you guys here with this lesson is sometimes a freebie is a good thing. Now, you don't want to throw too many out because then you get taken advantage of by enough people. But if you're willing to throw a few freebies out here and there, you'd be surprised what comes back to you because people are going to feel like, holy smokes, he saved me $4,000.
Yeah, and it all comes back to, it's the law of reciprocity, right?
Yeah.
I didn't expect anything back, but I knew if I helped them eventually, they would come back, and he did. So he called me 3 months later. Hey, I need an estate plan. Yeah. Great. Hey, I got this big portion there. We're getting ready for my retirement. I need to find some places to put this. Great. I put together a plan. So it did turn into a great client. But I'm always looking to add value with people because when you find ways to add value, you become, number one, you start building a stronger relationship with people, and you become more sticky. Yeah. And when you find out what they do, and you can make introductions, like going back to what we were saying earlier, I mean, I'm always trying to do that because it's never about just making $1. I always tell people, and I stole this from somebody at some point, but it's not about closing a deal.
No.
It's about opening a relationship.
Yeah.
Because I am opening a relationship when I do an estate plan for the next however long this person's going to be around or however long I'm around. Because every year we're going to make changes. They're going to have maybe kids, or they're going to maybe, unfortunately, they have a divorce and now they need help with other things. I'm going to be their financial guide because I provided that value initially. Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
Oh, absolutely. It's, adding value. You can add value if you're dead broke. And what I mean by that is let's say that you had no credit left to use and your bank account was just basically drained to the brim. You can still add value by helping share a business on social media, which is free. You can add value by leaving a nice review and rating, because other people will see that. You can add value by complimenting someone on their success, leaving some kind of impression with them that makes them remember, holy smokes, this guy was dead broke, but he treated me better than other people who had a lot of money.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
totally right, man. You don't have to have money to do something right by people.
No, because that'll lead to you making a lot more in the future through good karma, like you said, reciprocity. Because what you're doing for your brand is you're making yourself more memorable to them based on those actions that you didn't need to spend money on. You don't have to spend money to leave a review. You don't have to spend money to share it in your story, share about their business on Instagram, Facebook, you name it. You could even ask them, hey, is there a way that I could get some people to your event or whatever for a 20% off code with my name on it? And they might say yes, they might say no. I've done that for plenty of people. Like, sure, yeah, you know what? Since you're telling me about all these people you know about, here's a 20% off code. What do you want me to make it? And then they tell me their name. Okay, cool, all caps. Please share that with friends. And then it works.
Yep, totally
it works because people love discounts, man. So there's just ways that if you're not in a good financial situation, that you can still add value. And I mean, the event host is not even the most wealthy guy in the room. Arizona entrepreneurs, as well as they're doing, they still have guys that are way more financially off than them, because those guys are like, I'm looking to build a network.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to build the connections. Yeah, they have several hundreds of millions of dollars or something like that from selling businesses or whatever, but it's just that when you start networking, you don't really stop. You always know that there's new people to meet, and there's always going to be new people to meet, because younger people are going to come up from Generation Z, the more mature ones, and other generations after them. So there's always going to be new people to meet.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Definitely just stay humble. I mean, guys like Ed Milet, Andy Frizella, they're still out and about, doing events, and especially Ed, because Andy's not out as much, but they're still doing events where, and they're like some of the top entrepreneurs in the game.
I was in the Arte Syndicate for years.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. That's our coaching program. And
nice.
I absolutely loved it. In fact, that's the reason I'm at Arrive. I met Ariel Nadella while I was in the Arte Syndicate before I had sold my other company. And I never would have met them without that. But yes, very, very great people. And, their podcasts, I mean, Andy's a little crazy sometimes. But if you listen to his Q&A on Monday, always good value for young entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Ed, pretty much everything Ed does and talks about is not only some entrepreneur stuff, but a lot of mindset stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Huge on mindset. But so I'm very thankful for the two guys you just mentioned, because I'm not in the Arte Syndicate anymore, because like that particular season for me, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to move into another season, which we're doing a lot of stuff with Patrick Bet-David.
Okay.
But I'm very grateful for them.
Yeah, those are solid guys in the entrepreneurship space, and if you don't know about them, you should definitely at least follow them on Instagram, even if you can't afford to be part of the Arte Syndicate. And actually, you have to apply to be in that anyway.
Yep.
So it's not just a simple put down $5,000 or whatever. Like, no, you actually have to apply and then get accepted. So it's just amazing what you can learn from all these great people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How has your faith in God shaped you?
I mean,
because you said you're a very real Christian.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, it's everything. So I didn't grow up with a faith, and I think my dad believed in Jesus, and we never really talked about it a whole lot. I think there was like maybe a couple times where the Bible came out. My first 18 years of my life. but I was introduced at a business conference in Nashville to a very wealthy guy, and he said, "You want to hear my secret? Come tomorrow morning. We're going to do a non-denominational service." And they had other like breakouts, like they had a Jewish room and Sikhs and all kinds of stuff. But I'm like, "Yeah, I want to know what you said." I mean, this dude's like, he's like 5'4" and probably 5'4" wide too, but worth, I mean, at that time probably close to $50 million. And I was young. I was 19. Like,
and
yeah,
he's
of course.
a preacher?
Nope, wasn't a preacher at all. No, he's a business guy. Just a business guy.
Okay.
He just said, "I'm going to do a Sunday morning service. I'm going to tell you what is the most important thing in my life." And he shared his testimony. He shared, about, and it was crazy because I'm in a room of 5,000 people.
Yeah.
I happened to sit on the front row that morning because we got up stupid early to go into this thing. I think I was in line at 5 a.m. because that was kind of our mindset. So we go in there. I don't know what this dude's sharing, by the way, at all. And at the very end of it, he tells his whole story, and I'm like, gosh, dang, I relate. Like, the guy didn't go to college. He was an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm like, I just quit college, entrepreneurial spirit. I've got all these dreams and aspirations, don't know how to get there. And then he starts talking about how, when he found God and the things that happened, he starts telling the testimony of, Jesus. And I'm like,
yeah.
So he did an altar call, and it says, if that resonates with you and you'd like me, to come up and pray for you and accept Jesus. And I'm like, I was the first person of 5,000 people. Now, behind me would come about 1,000 after that. But I was the first person. I was standing up there. I felt like forever. And I was a brand new in this, and I didn't really know anything about it. Next guy comes on, a guy named Alan Laniger, and Alan says, "All right, so here's what you need to do. You accept Jesus. Your life just doesn't change like that. You need to go find a Bible-based church." And I happened to be traveling with some friends, and they're like, "Hey, I go to a Bible-based church. It's called, at the time it was called Word of Grace. He'd been going there since he was a kid. Why don't you come with me?" So I came with him. I'm like, "Oh, this is amazing." Met a guy named Gary Kinnaman who became, my pastor. And eventually that became City of Grace, and Pastor Terry and him kind of changed the baton in a very, very pleasant way. And I learned, and I started studying the Bible and principles and things that I didn't know, and things that I didn't know were bad, honestly, and I started looking into my soul, and it shaped the way I looked at everything going forward. And I'm by no stretch of the imagination perfect. I've made so many mistakes, and I am still a sinner, and I work on it every day, and I've gotten much, much better.
Yeah.
But I filter everything through it. So it's, my faith is everything to me, and I tell people about it, and I don't ever mean to offend anybody, nor do they need to see the same way I do. But if somebody asks me, I'm going to share what it's done for me, because I have lived a very favorable life. I mean, the fact that I went through my health challenges, I'm here, and that we still, we live very well, and our family is in great shape, and I got amazing kids and amazing wife, and that's pure favor of God.
That's amazing, dude. Love that. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure your faith was still pretty strong even when you were in a hospital, no?
Oh, it was. I knew where I was, I knew where I was going if things didn't go the right way. And like I said, there was a couple times I felt so bad. I'm like, can we just speed this process up? Hate to say it like that, but very much. But yes, faith was strong, but I knew that if I was gonna make it past this, there was gonna be a reason. Like, I don't believe the good Lord does anything without a reason behind it. And some of the things we don't understand, and some of the things are terrible and are unexplainable. But when you look in the rearview mirror 10 years, 20 years, 15 years back, and then you start to connect the dots backwards, I mean, I wouldn't be in business with these wonderful people that I really respect and like. And I can't say that about a lot of my past, business partners, although they all played their roles and they're all, great people in some respects.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be in business with these great people had I not gone through that. I wouldn't be in an industry where I actually get to impact people on a daily basis had I not gone through that. My wife and I's relationship wouldn't be as strong had I not gone through that. And I wouldn't have taken every day as favorably as I do, because you get to a point where things get a little redundant and you forget how much of a gift of a day is.
Oh yeah. It's a humbling experience.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, I've never almost died, thankfully, but you have, and that's a pretty gnarly experience to have twice, especially. So, I mean, I would imagine that would have made a significant change in your life.
Yeah. I mean, that whole process did, but it just strengthened what I already had, and I'm glad I had strengthened that muscle for many, many years before this, because Jess and I, we talk about it a lot. I can't imagine not having faith going through that process.
Ooh.
Like I just cannot imagine not having a faith of knowing that I'm not in control, that the good Lord's will be done, that I can be healed. By His stripes, I can be healed. It literally says in the book that I'm going to hold on to this word, and if He's got other plans, He's got other plans, but I have something to hold on to faith. I can't imagine not having that. Yeah. And so, yes, it helped a tremendous amount, and through getting to the other side, it strengthened it even more. Yeah,
absolutely. That's amazing. So what about what have you taken out of your diet now? What have you put in since your heart failures? What has changed with your nutrition?
Yeah, that's the funniest.
Because I imagine you had to take something out after having the heart congestion.
So that's a very good question. But the funny thing was, the first time before I had heart failure, I had worked out every day for a little over 1,200 days. And I mean every day. There was not a day missed. I logged everything. It was stupid. Nobody should ever do that, but I'm kind of neurotic like that. And I ate very healthy. Actually, I ate extremely healthy. I had one cheat meal every single week. I had made this decision. This was back in 2000, maybe 16. Okay. I started to get healthy again, lost weight, and I was in fantastic shape all the way up until this. Because it was a virus, the virus is what took me out. So, to answer your question, I didn't really change anything afterwards as far as what I ate.
Okay.
I barely drink anymore. I mean, I definitely drank more before, but that
because I didn't know if maybe you had something that you didn't know your heart couldn't take while the rest of your diet was good. I didn't know if you, because sometimes people find out that, oh wow, that's what I had in my diet, and that's what's been messing me up. My dad used to be a big ginger advocate, and then he found out that's what's been giving him massive headaches. So it was that kind of thing. That was why I asked that question.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, because a lot of people are like, oh, what kind of lifestyle changes do you have? I'm like, well,
I mean, if your heart,
not really.
Yeah.
I was talking to the nutritionist, in fact, because after the heart transplant, you meet with all these different specialists that come in before you get to leave the hospital, and the nutrition comes in. She's like, okay, here's the things you're going to start doing with your diet. And my wife starts to laugh. She's sitting right there, and she's like, you don't need to worry about his diet. Because again, I'm very regimented. I eat the same type of things over and over. I said, no, this is what I eat. And I just explained to her, and she's like, okay, we're going to skip all that. And then there are some things in the first year after a transplant you can't have. You're not supposed to, just for exposure, because you're immunosuppressed. So things can get to you much, much larger than someone that has a full immune system. It's like I couldn't eat sushi. I couldn't eat a medium rare steak. There's some things I'm like, this sucks, because I love sushi and I love medium rare steak. So there, and I can't have ginger, and I can't have grapefruit anymore, because that will actually allow there's an enzyme in there. It doesn't allow your medications to process. And I love grapefruit. So that kind of sucked. And I can't have that actually for the rest of my life. The sushi and the steak, that's back in the diet, all good.
So there was something you did take out, grapefruit.
Yeah.
So it was something you had to take
grapefruit
out.
And pomegranate.
Well, those fruits block the enzyme. And then the virus, was this a strain of COVID or?
That's what they think. I mean, they tested me the first time I was in the hospital, the first year, for over 20 different things, and nothing showed up. But the way it affected my heart, they knew it was a virus, it was a viral attack, but they couldn't identify to what the viral attack was. They definitely think it was COVID, and the next year again, I thought I had made a full recovery, and it was just the same virus that came in and just pounded on me. So fortunately, that's out of the system now, and
so it's the way your body reacts to catching it, really.
Yep, exactly. And they did a DNA test on me while I was in the hospital before right before the transplant, and they did find out genetically I'm more susceptible to heart viruses. I didn't even know that was a thing, but
No, that is a genetic real thing, actually.
Yep.
That you can, there's heart attacks that are hereditary in the family,
yeah,
which is a scary thing to think about if you're going through that, because it's like, you just never know if it could be you or when it could be you.
right.
It could be your sister instead of you, or it could be you instead of your sister or brother. I mean, that's a frightening thing to think about. Like, imagine you're just on the road one day driving, then you catch a heart attack and you got to pull over as fast as you can and hope you don't die behind the wheel. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's intense, man. Wow. Well, I mean, is there anything else you wanted to leave this episode with, or any message or anything?
I mean, I would say the biggest thing is, number one, don't take any day for granted.
No.
Make sure that you're spending it intentional with the people that you love and doing the things you think you're supposed to be here on earth to do. And then, I mean, if there's anything I can do to help service you, whether it's in our financial side or even just business questions and stuff, I can always be a good sounding board. For entrepreneurs, because I've been through a lot in business.
No, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, and I really appreciate too that when I was offering you a free ticket for sponsoring last time, you would just was like, "Do you need a sponsor?" I'm like, "Sure, if you want to do it and do a presentation." So you would put in the sponsorship, and then you meet Eduardo before the event even starts, and I'm like, "Okay, cool. Let's see what comes of also him and the other people, like Jeremy and Devin and others." So that was great, man. I really appreciate you, and the presentations are always a value add. So whenever you'd want to do that again, I would love to have you. Do that
and
again.
I've got more things to present on. So
yeah,
but I just like everybody in business, you got to be very intentional and be very cautious of where you put your dollars when it comes to sponsoring and those types of things. And like for me, came to the first one, I saw what it was about, saw the format, and it just made sense. I want to help, where I can there, because I believe it's fertile ground to sow into. So, count me in for the next several sponsorships to help as you're getting this growing to the size that you want it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that too. And I'm going to see also if Aldo can do it again next time, because he'll have an event about 10 days later.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I can make that one myself, but I do want to help him promote as well. And that's the thing, if you guys are doing your own events, when you're looking for sponsorships, you got to be asking yourself, how is it going to help them, and not about how you can make extra money. You're thinking about helping them promote their business in front of your people. And as we said earlier, don't just put a banner there. Actually give them no less than 5 minutes to speak, because if they get some speaking time and can share a presentation, then the audience can get to know them a lot more. There's connection built, and then there's collaboration built. A logo, it's just like another thing people look around the room. Like people just ignore things. Like you have a Christmas decorations, you have ornaments and stuff, and you think about the heart and soul you put into it, but people, whatever. Hey, people right there, they're not focused on what's on the tree or whatever.
Yeah.
So like when you just have a logo but you don't have them presenting, it's easier for them to forget. I mean, I know some guys, good friends of mine, they're like, "Yeah, we don't sponsor those events anymore." I'm like, I think I can see why. Not gonna name names, but I think I can see why. So like, that's the thing. I don't even want you to sponsor an event of mine unless you're gonna be there, because I want you to get value and give value with the audience. So just any of you who are thinking about that too, that's just how we do things at Impact Social Nights and Nevada Entrepreneurs. And depending on the tier that you get, it can include a podcast session. So for this one, that's a big part of why we got this first episode recorded, because I was like, you know what, I'll give you an episode for this too, man. And it would be nice to grow the Southwest Entrepreneurs episodes, because there are plenty of great entrepreneurs in Arizona, Utah, and the other states that I'm doing these events in, not just Nevada. So I really want to thank you, Josh, for doing this episode and having me at your awesome space for it.
Thanks for having me on.
And we did miss a little bit of equipment this time, but next time, but this was still a great conversation we had. And we've dug a little deep, man, talking about your faith and your heart stuff, and maybe some stuff you weren't expecting me to ask you about, but it's all good, man.
Right, wherever the conversation goes.
Yeah, exactly. So, you can find Josh at where can they find you?
So you can find me pretty much anywhere. Joshua C. Norris. That's going to be Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can go to arrivefinancialservices.com, and you can find us there. And my phone number is 480-612-5607. Call me directly anytime, or you can find me on Connect, which is Patrick Bet-David's thing that he has. Fantastic app. You can text me, you can call me through there, and that, generally it's like $5 or whatever for a text, or $15, if you want to talk to me for a half hour on something very specific based on my expertise. But there's a lot of people on there as well, so
Awesome.
Shout out to that.
And you serve people nationwide?
Nationwide.
So any of you that are watching from a different state, please reach out to my friend Josh here. He will absolutely help you with estate planning, 401k rollovers, health insurance, life insurance. Labels right here, obviously right over me, so you can't miss it. But yeah, thank you, Josh, for this episode. And we'll see you tonight at Wicked Awesome Happy Hour.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Also, you can find me at Impact Social Nights on Instagram, Dylan Rosner on Instagram, DYLANROSNER. And if you're interested in going to any of the events in Vegas, at Nevada_entrepreneurs is the Instagram. Impact Social Nights is an expansion version of Nevada Entrepreneurs. I know a lot of entrepreneurs in a lot of communities, so please reach out to me as well. Reach out to Josh, and thank you for watching this show.